We're Tech Nomadic. I'm Cherie.
I'm Chris, still, same as last time.
And welcome to our November Q&A session on Ustream. This will be live broadcast. We are now live broadcasting. And we have a whole bunch of questions already queued up. Just a couple of hints. Over to the right-hand side of where you're seeing the video is a chat screen. If you have any questions, just go there and enter them in. And if you would like us to address you by name in our replies, then please put your name after the question, because otherwise you're just going to be Ustreamer number 1567892, which is not as much fun. If you're watching this later, this is November 8th. Yeah, today's the 8th.
Today's 8th, yes.
If it's not November the 8th, then you're watching this pre-recorded, not live. So asking us questions then wouldn't make much sense.
Unless you invent time travel, in which case, let us know, please. We've got a lot of plans.
Alrighty. I'm going to pop over back to Facebook and announce that we're live streaming right now. And Chris is going to start off. We have some questions about the lithium-ion battery bank. That'll be easy for him to talk about while I'm doing that. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
Okay, so yeah, we had a question come up through the chat of, was it possible to run an...
We asked how it was performing first, so you should give an overview.
Okay, so how... For those of you who don't know, we are one of the few RVs equipped with lithium-ion batteries, and we've written, I believe, 50,000 words on the blog about our lithium-ion battery project. We built the battery bank ourselves, and have been enjoying being on the bleeding edge of technology, and for the most part, I've been very impressed by the whole overall project and the benefits of it all. And so far, so good. You know, we've spent, particularly since the last chat, we've been plugged in on wall power, on RV park shore power for the entire time. So much so that we actually had concerns with our battery bank is set to fail over, so that if the power does get disconnected, things keep running. So when Hurricane Sandy came past the coast of Florida, we were actually had to rig up a way to figure out whether or not power might have gone out at the RV park, because we didn't want to have power go out, and well, we wouldn't notice it for
until it was out.
Until the batteries drained. So fortunately, I think we only had the very briefest of power outages, but that was actually an interesting challenge. Like, we had no way to alert us that the power might have gone out, and we were switching over to batteries. So maybe someday I'll rig a better light system for that.
I don't know. What we did is we do have one outlet in our RV that we wired to be direct to shore power that only works when we're plugged in, and that's our saving grace in this case. So we actually hooked up a fan so that if it went out, then we would know that we were out of power during Sandy. So that was kind of our
that was our newest twist on the lithium stuff. Everything else about how it's performed is documented on the blog. It's still performing great.
Right. So if you go back on Ustream into our archives, I think it's 2 videos back, we actually have about an hour and a half seminar that we gave at a bus rally a couple months ago that we Ustreamed. It was our inaugural Ustream, and it goes into a lot of details about our lithium-ion battery bank that you're welcome to go and view, so we won't spend another hour here talking about it. Unless people have lots of questions on it, then great. And also, if you go to technomadia.com/lithium, you'll see all the articles that Chris has written. Each one's about 5,000 words. And the latest one was a 1-year retrospective that goes through a lot of the measurements he's taken, and if we feel that it was worthwhile, and definitely is for us.
And to answer the simple question that came through here is, can it run the air conditioner? Yes, that was kind of one of the main key points, was to have a battery system that can run the air conditioner to keep the cat cool while we stop the bus on hot days.
Right, and keep in mind, it's not just a function of the battery bank that allows you to run the air conditioner. We put 500 amp hours in it, and with lithium, most of that is usable amp hours. But it's a function of the inverter. If it's able to start the air conditioner and keep it running. So your inverter needs to be what's also powerful enough to run your air conditioner. Not just, the lithium just kind of determines how long it can run, or the battery bank capacity. Before the, earlier in the day, we had one of our readers ask about satellite internet, and I saw that in the lead-up we had someone ask about satellite internet as well. So Maybe we can talk a little bit about satellite internet. Just for the record, we don't use satellite regularly. We do have a tripod set up.
We have. We still have a full-on satellite internet HughesNet tripod set up. So we've used it quite a bit in the past, but particularly on the eastern half of the country, there's not a lot of places where satellite internet gives you any advantages over just like getting a booster antenna and 3G or 4G.
Right. We like fast internet, so we're really digging this 4G stuff. So satellite is great if you're going to be out of areas where there's cellular connectivity. And in the last year in particular, we've been on the East Coast, so we've not used our tripod setup much at all. We did investigate looking at doing like a MotoSat roof thing for the top of the bus, but we decided we want to dedicate all that to solar, not to antiquated technology. But one of the drawbacks to satellite is that there's really only one technology within satellite that is even mobile friendly. So I'll let Chris talk about spot beam.
Well, yeah, okay. So the main satellite data provider that you'll find servicing RV users is HughesNet, and HughesNet. So older satellites support a technology that has basically one beam, one spot on the satellite that broadcasts to the entire footprint for the country. And that means as an RVer, you could travel around the country, point at the, either get your tripod or press the button on the MotoSat on your roof. It aims at the satellite in the sky and you're online. That's, great for traveling. It's actually not so great because, everybody in the entire country pointing to that satellite on that frequency is sharing that same channel. So what they've done on the newer satellites is spot beams. So the satellite has all sorts of little spot circles coming down from it using the same frequency, but somebody in one state is talking in one spot, and somebody on the same frequency in another state is talking on another spot, and your personal service is tied to the spot that you've been assigned. So this is great. That means they can have more people on the satellite sending more data faster, and they were actually able to reduce their prices when they brought this out for HughesNet. But it does mean that it is completely non-nomad friendly. You move outside of your home service area, travel 100 miles, you no longer have service. You're no longer provisioned in the different spots. So that is one of the downsides of satellite. And for those, we've got some posts that talk about the ups and downs of satellite, but HughesNet has stopped selling their nationwide service. It's just kind of a legacy thing. And so you have to find somebody who's got an old setup and buy it and then not refuse to let Hughes offer you a free upgrade. So every time we try and reactivate our satellite service, they're like, oh, we'll send somebody out to your house and we'll upgrade you to a newer plan and give you a free new modem and everything. And we're like, no, can't do it. No, sorry, no. And it was one of the hassles, actually, of reactivating and of canceling and activating our HughesNet service. We've been through this twice now. HughesNet doesn't let you suspend your service for more than 6 months out of a year. Yeah,
I think it's 6 months. And then you have to cancel your plan and start it over.
And then you have to cancel and then go through the whole I'm new, I need to reactivate from scratch process. And when you reactivate from scratch with old equipment, they're like, oh, we'll upgrade you for free. And you just sign this 2-year contract. And I'm like, nope, don't want a contract. And definitely don't want this old equipment upgraded. So that's the ups and downsides of HughesNet. And it's part of why we haven't had any really reason to bother trying to reactivate it again in the past. It's been over a year.
It's been a year. We last time it activated, we went to Burning Man in 2011. We had it still activated when we were in Utah, and we absolutely needed it there at an RV park because
the RV park, that's the Wi-Fi at the RV park and the cellular service at the RV park, both had both of them, but they were so dismal, both Wi-Fi and cellular, that we're like, well, we've got a satellite. Let's crank it out, and now we've actually got usable connection. We can make life work here.
So it was essential there.
Yes. So I don't know of any other providers other than HughesNet that are doing good nationwide satellite.
Wasn't there like Earthband or Blue Sky or some other one that was kind of non-spot beam technology there for a while? Or they?
I don't know if so what there is there's some stuff that is very, very expensive. Once you go to the cost is no limit. There's HughesNet. There's the what we've been doing is kind of being residential customers of HughesNet. All the tripod systems are kind of in this gray zone of as far as HughesNet is concerned, you have a house, and this is a thing on the side of a house. You're not, end users are never supposed to aim their own satellite dish. It's borderline gray, illegal-ish sort of, maybe. But if you get trained, which we were trained by the people we bought our dish from, then you're allowed to aim, and we actually aim it very well.
Just keep talking.
Okay.
I'm answering a question without having to answer it.
Got it. So that's the cheapest way to get on satellite, is just a regular residential HughesNet plan. One step up is companies like Motosat, and I think there's like one or two others that have motorized auto aiming systems that they will install on the roof of an RV, and they're responsible for aiming. It's the robot that does it and aims your system whenever you stop and park. You press the aim button, it aims and gets you online. Motosat is reselling HughesNet service. They're marking up the price a little bit, and then the big plus is they handle your customer service in an RVer-friendly way. So they understand that you're traveling around the country. They will help you. You don't have to ever talk directly to HughesNet, which has no clue about RVers and traveling.
Yeah, that was 2 hours of our life I went back.
Yeah, more than 2 hours I spent on the phone with HughesNet. And then there's a huge jump in cost if then you want to get to satellite internet that works around the world and or is catered to corporate jets and or executives on the go, and suddenly you're paying, you get James Bond type gear, like a little briefcase, you just set this outside, little thing you put on your roof, you're online, you got fast, super crazy connections, video conference from anywhere, but you're paying James Bond prices. So it's stuff I haven't even researched very far at all. So that's kind of the state of satellite. If somebody knows of other good ways that are RVer friendly to be online with satellite and not cost an arm and a leg, we'd love to add it to our arsenal of knowledge and be able to share it with people. And see, that's the satellite questions, right?
Satellite questions.
Okay.
Since we're still on internet, Cindy's asking us a lot of questions
Oh,
about the Wi-Fi Ranger and boosters and stuff like that. Let me go back here and see if there's any others. And excuse my finger scrolling. This happens to also be where the chat comes up on our iPad. By the way, we're streaming over our iPad with unlimited data, so thank you AT&T for that. Yeah. But when you see my thumb scroll over, that's because I'm moving the chat window right over the camera. So just excuse us for that. So we have to answer the lithium stuff.
Yeah, let's not get too far behind on questions.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far behind here. Okay, I think...
There's a question about Litterbox here?
No, they were looking at the old video.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so a couple questions. We still have an oven in our kitchen. If you go back and look at our remodeling stuff, we actually have no oven. Actually, I'll show you the oven. This is where our oven would have been. And we now have a fold-down thingy with a whole bunch of portable kitchen appliances, small kitchen appliances. There's a rice cooker, a toaster oven. We even use an induction as our primary cooktop space. And if there's popular demand, we might even show you the magic of boiling water with energy. It's really cool.
So this way, 99% of the time, all we want in our kitchen is counter space. So this way, we put away all the cooking stuff, and it's gone and clear and out of the way. And it's only there taking space when we need it. If we want to cook outside, we just bring it outside. And the rest of the time, we have a countertop so we can set up iPads for video chat. Right.
So one of the reasons that we went without an oven is our bus had a very non-safe propane system. So we were faced with the position of ripping out the propane systems or replacing all the propane systems. And we decided it was a lot easier to redesign this bus to be electrically dependent instead of being propane. So we've decided to be propane free in our bus, and we just don't bake much. I'm gluten free, so I don't do baking. We eat a lot of whole foods. We do a lot of raw foods. So a typical dinner for us might be something that we've done in a food processor.
Or just heat it up on the induction. We use the induction a lot.
We do use the induction cooker a lot. So baking just isn't a part. In the trailers that we lived in before, we had no oven whatsoever. So we got really used to cooking on a stovetop, and the induction is it's fabulous. If you haven't looked into induction cooking, you really, really should for inside an RV, because you just get rid of so many problems with it.
It doesn't get the whole space hot while you're cooking.
That's the biggest benefit. Okay. So, let's see. So,
Millennicum here?
So if Millennicum is in the Wilson Cradle Booster, which is connected to the USB to the Wi-Fi Ranger Go, does it boost both 3G and 4G well? And that was actually specifically answered in our most current post, the big epic 7,000-word 4G post. Sorry about that.
So I think there might be two questions here, and if not, I'll just...
and she also wants to know if we were buying a new external cell phone booster, what would it be and why?
Let me grab the
okay.
booster for show and tell here.
Okay, he's going to go grab the booster. And I'm going to reiterate what we said, what Chris said in the 4G post recently, is that if we had to buy a cell phone booster right now, we would be in dire straits.
No, I'd buy the Sleek 4G, actually.
You would buy just the Sleek 4G?
Yeah, I would, because it's cheap. It's only $99.
Well, it is $99. It's only $99. It's cheap. You don't have to worry about it. It does work well with 4G. It works reasonably well with 3G. It's not our ideal solution because it can only do one device at a time. Our ideal solution would be a top signal type thing where we could put multiple antennas into it and have it run multiple devices at once. But that's not an option right now because it doesn't do 4G.
So this here is the Sleek 4G by itself. It's just a little tiny, in the camera frame, it's a little tiny cradle. These loving arms hold something that you want to boost. It sits here nicely secure.
It can be a smartphone. It could be a MiFi device or whatever you can fit within these little arms.
Right. Then the Sleek 4G gets powered via USB port on the bottom, a micro USB port that gets power to the booster. You can power it via your computer, or it comes with an AC adapter or a cigarette lighter adapter. And then this is where the antenna connects up to it. So this boosts only one device at a time. So something like the top signal will boost every phone that's inside our bus. And then you take something like the MiFi and just slide it in here into the warm, loving embrace, and it gets boosted. And now then there's another USB port that comes out the side of the Sleek 4G that is provides power only. It doesn't pass through data. So if you're connecting this to your computer or to a Wi-Fi Ranger to power this, you can't then have it pass through here and then connect this in a tethering mode. You just have to plug the tethering connection straight into the MiFi. But this is really handy if you're just trying to power things. You plug it in like that, and power flows through, it charges, it's all happy, it's boosting, it's charging, and you're online and good to go. And yeah, this would be my first choice if I needed just one booster. It's relatively affordable. You have to choose between AT&T and Verizon. The Sleek 4G has two different versions because AT&T and Verizon have very different frequencies. They have to have different antennas, different boosting circuits inside. But it's a pretty decent solution. The only big downside is it's not as powerful a booster as the top signal system, and it only boosts one thing at a time, whatever happens to be in the cradle.
So, like we said in the post, if you are in the position of having to buy one now, we don't envy you, because the perfect solution is not yet on the market, but we feel it will be in the coming months.
It might take a while, though.
Right.
The more I read about it, it could take because boosting 4G is hard.
Right, and it's having to go through lots of FCC approvals, and it's out of the hand of a lot of the people. So right now, we feel the best combination is probably having something like the top signal and a 4G. But,
Sleek 4G. And if you just need one, just get a Sleek 4G.
If you can only go one, go with the Sleek 4G. I think they're about $100 on most places, maybe $120, whatever. It's a very inexpensive investment to get into. Let's see. She had also asked about the Wi-Fi Ranger external roof mount modules.
Yep. And so it seems like that's half a question. Let's see. Okay. Spendy, yes, very.
Is it worth it? Oh, yes, it's worth it. Now, the cool thing about the Wi-Fi Ranger, and when you ask if when it's gonna be out of beta mode. Now, keep in mind when we say it's in beta mode, that's our assessment of it, not Wi-Fi Rangers. They consider it a solid market product. We consider it beta because we're still having problems with it and having to have them give support on it. And we've heard from others who are having similar situations. But most of the things, actually all of the things that we've encountered on it are not hardware problems. They're firmware, software problems.
Well, okay. They stand behind their hardware. So we know of at least one person who's had a hardware failure, and Wi-Fi Ranger sends them out another one right away. And I've heard from Wi-Fi Ranger they had a batch of bad hardware. I think they've corrected all of that got out. We've been running across software problems. They've been fixing them. They've been incredibly responsive, and both their forums and to emails, and they've even participated in the Technomads Facebook group.
Right, they're a very awesome company. They're a small business. They're RVers themselves. We trust in them. Now, the Wi-Fi Ranger Pro, which was their prior model, I mean, it got rock solid, and it was awesome.
After a while.
But they are a small business, and they need funding to keep going.
I don't think it's actually a funding issue. It's more of just software takes time, and they've been very ambitious. I don't know of anybody else who's trying to make things. They're trying to make complicated things simple. It just works. You plug in, it'll find Wi-Fi and connect to Wi-Fi automatically. It will automatically fall back to a cellular device and connect to cellular if you've got it. It will work both with the internal Wi-Fi Ranger and in conjunction with a separate box up on your roof with a long-range Wi-Fi antenna. So you can have just the Wi-Fi Ranger that's got an antenna and booster much more powerful than your laptops. But if you really want to get across an RV park or reach the McDonald's that's down the road or something like that, to really push your range, they've got roof-mounted boxes with very, very powerful Wi-Fi systems in them. But that roof box is a full-on router, and then it works in a slave mode to the interior system, the interior Wi-Fi Ranger. In theory, it just works, and when it is just working, it's great. Some of the problems we've run into trying to have the roof system and the inside system work together is when they get out of sync or they fail to pair up, and they had a lot of problems getting pairing to work reliably. You'd spend an hour of pair, fail. Now that actually works. They are able to pair up fairly reasonably easily, but went through a very long process before that. They got that simplicity working well. Now they've, in the most recent post, I detailed a lot of the problems we've had, and the biggest one right now is it works great. It's just not nearly as stable as we'd like it to be. It should be something that is just there. It's working. It's giving you the best internet it can find, and you can go to its control panel and maybe make adjustments when you need it. But if we're using it every day or two or three or four, it starts to act really finicky, and I have to go into the wiring closet, pull the plug on it, wait 10 seconds, plug it back in. Takes 2 minutes to reboot, and then we're back online. It's not at the point of it just works and will keep working for weeks on end. And that's really where their goal is to be, and I'm looking forward to them getting there.
Right, and it's a beautiful vision that they have, and I know they're dedicated to it. Yeah. Okay, so someone asked, what about a solar oven? They're really cool. Cool concept. Like I said before, we don't bake, so it's not a priority for us.
Yes. And we're usually also instant gratification type people. The induction is like, hi, I want food, and suddenly you've got warm food very, very fast. The induction's faster than a microwave. Solar oven is like, I want something,
in 3 hours.
I'm going to spend all day anticipating it until my mouth is watering, and it's a whole big event. This is awesome. Cool.
The same reason we don't have a slow cooker. It's just not who we are. We kind of think, we should eat before we perish. Okay. We're not foodies. We're not people who spend a lot of time thinking about food and preparing food.
Salsa and guacamoles.
Yeah, but we don't. We kind of say, we just keep the ingredients on hand and make it.
Well, but I spend more time making a guacamole than I know anybody else ever does. So,
that is true. But you don't spend as much time making a guacamole as you use someone who's solar cooking their cookies or something not. It's really not... Solar oven, I think they're a cool technology, and if you're going to be off-grid and you like to bake, I mean, it's awesome. Use the sun. Great. If you've got time and, and baking is a priority for you, fantastic. Go for it. But I don't know anything about them beyond that. Sorry. Let's see. Okay. Next one is from number 88094. How do you pay taxes on IRA savings withdrawals, and is there a particular state that would be better to do this in? First of all, we're too young to worry about IRA savings withdrawals, so I can't answer that specifically. But I would imagine it's the same as what we do for our estimated tax payments for being self-employed, which is we go online to the IRS's little website and schedule estimated tax payments, and then we file our taxes at the end of the year and pay them. It's really no different. And is there a state? I honestly have not researched IRA withdrawals, and I'm assuming you mean a traditional IRA. We're Roth IRA is what we're putting our money into, so we're not even thinking in the future about withdrawals and paying taxes on it, because we're paying our taxes on it now in deferment for later that we won't pay taxes on our earnings. So I know nothing about IRA savings withdrawals. We're both 39. We're too young to think about that. So I'm sorry I can't help you, Mr. 88094 or Mrs. 88904. But as far as estimated payments, that's all I can advise you on is the IRS has a nice website where you can schedule those. Are we going to the River Trans Rendezvous and Quartzsite in January?
We're going to the Cedar Key Rendezvous.
No, we're going to the Cedar Key Rendezvous here in Florida. We're actually currently parked in Florida, where we're going to be long-term for a while. If you haven't been following our blog closely, my father is going through cancer treatments, and we're making the decision to be located in the southeast and within a day's drive of him for the foreseeable future. Our priority is to be with family. However, we are currently planning the new RVers group, which is probably the group we most feel aligned with. It's NURVERS. A bunch of us also happen to be coming to Florida, and over in Cedar Key, Florida, a bunch of us are meeting up for the month of January there. So
we're having a big New Year's Eve party and going from there.
So that's where we'll be. Next question is about from Brock Boland. How do you feel about security on the road? I know the book mentioned that life is a series of calculated risks, but have you ever been nervous spending the night in an RV? Yes, I have, many times. Shall I talk back to our first night boondocking?
Your first date? Our first date night?
No, not our first night. Okay, so our first date was boondocking.
I took her out and stealth camped on Treasure Island in San Francisco. And
I wasn't scared then because I didn't know what I was doing, and I was too in lust with him. But our first night... when we first hit the road, we're in that little tiny tab trailer. It was a little 16-foot trailer. And the very first night that we stayed off-grid on a BLM land, or I didn't know if it was BLM land, I was like all concerned. Am I on BLM land? Are we safe here or not? I was up all night worried about if some rancher was going to come in and knock on our door and with a gun. And
I was very amused with her.
I woke up at 6 a.m. and said, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, I was like, okay, really, this is middle of nowhere, Utah. This is your land. You own it. This is boondocker friendly, very happy land, and this is back when the net connections are not very substantial. So she's got me online trying to find a map where I could prove to her that this didn't belong to a rancher. And then, okay, well, maybe we'll sleep here, but then at 6 a.m., get up, get on the road, start driving. We got to get out of here before they come get us. I'm like, okay. She got better after a while.
Yeah, in all of we're going on nearly 7 years now of our full-timing together. And there was only one night in which we were actually physically...
Felt scared,
where we had someone actually threatening outside our window, and it was while boondocking, and it's probably a big source of why I don't like boondocking or remote camping anymore.
You've done it plenty after that.
I've done it more, but it is always scary, because we did actually have someone threaten to roll us, and we did have to do a middle-of-the-night escape into the forest.
And they didn't do anything.
They didn't do anything.
But it was it was a situation of we're in the middle of nowhere, and there's somebody else who showed up and who was acting all tough and threatening. They never confronted us directly. They were just outside in their vehicle in the parking lot, and then went off and did their own thing, and then came back again and were pumping crazy loud music. And there's like, so we while they were out of eyesight, we just
snuck off into the forest.
We were perfectly safe. Could watch them, watch what's going on, but they would never find us in the dark. And we would see if they tried to do anything to our rig, and we sat and waited until they left. And they didn't do anything. But
they left. They went one side down the mountain, and we went down the other side, and we drove until sunset.
Sunrise, yeah.
So, yeah.
Like, let's get away from here.
It was a scary night. We survived. And one of the advantages of having a house on wheels is if you don't feel safe, you just move on.
Yep. And one of the advantages of now having a motorhome as opposed to a trailer is we would never have had to even step outside to start moving in our current rig.
Right, now we have a big ass bus. We could have rolled them over.
Yes, we could ram somebody and plow through them with the power of our diesel tank engine. In that case, we're like, okay, we're in our trailer. If they start to break into the car, or if they start to break into the trailer, we can't do anything. We're inside. We can come out, and we have defense strategies and pretty well equipped to take care of ourselves. But it's much nicer just to be able to fire up the engine and say, "To hell with you, I'm out of here." But that's once in 7 years that it's been even remotely a threatening situation, and even then, it was just somebody. In hindsight, it was a kid up on a date playing really loud music and talking really tough for his date.
I bet she was impressed.
I'm sure she was not impressed, but we couldn't see them, and all we could hear was what they were saying, and there we go.
Okay, so Greg is asking how much on average do we spend on campgrounds per month, and what type do you normally stay at, i.e. Resorts, basic amenities, or something in between? I'm going to go with all of the above. We like variety. When we're staying at campgrounds, our first preference is public campgrounds. We love national parks, state parks. State parks, some of them are awesome. Army Corps of Engineers are some of the best.
There's a lot of Army Corps of Engineer places that are dirt cheap or even completely free, and
there's some that are expensive too, with full amenities.
Yes.
If we're staying somewhere for under a week, our rig is very equipped that we only need right now electricity and don't even need water. But
we can make our own electricity if we have.
We have a generator, so we don't necessarily for under a week. Amenities are not as necessarily as critical unless the weather is extreme. Mm-hmm. If we're staying somewhere for a month or more, like we are right now, we're going to go somewhere with full amenities, access to cool stuff. Right now, we're enjoying being within walking distance to grocery stores and dining.
And the beach. The walking distance to the beach.
Yes, we're in walking distance to the beach. That's awesome.
But one thing we almost universally have never been impressed by anything that calls themselves a resort. A resort usually means there's a swimming pool and you're paying twice as much.
And your neighbor, you can see your neighbor's sewer hose out your window. That's your view.
Yeah, resorts are almost never impressive.
To us.
To our style. We've generally actually had better experiences, and particularly if you're staying places long term, looking for trailer parks that have some spots set aside for RVs. They tend to be very affordable. They tend to have much bigger spaces than places that are just trying to cycle in as many RVs as possible because they've got a lot of long-term residents. So you get a big space and a place where your neighbors aren't continually changing every day, and you can get a really fabulous monthly rate. So we've actually loved being trailer park livers sometimes. And we have been to some great RV resorts, but for the most part, they're disappointing.
Right. I mean, our ideal is if we're traveling around and staying places 2 or 3 nights at a time, we love something with a fabulous view out our office windows. The office windows are the two that you see behind us. We have our screens in our windows. Our screens are designed so that we have office views. We like it when at least one side of our RV has a view that is not of someone else's RV. Mm-hmm. We're fairly private, introverted, homebodied nomads. We also like to not have to put clothes on in the morning. And we like to have our windows open and be able to work at our computers in our skivvies. I can't be more honest than that. So we like to be in places where you get a site, where we can find a site that has a view that's private. And that's our preference. As far as what our average cost per month is, I think if you look back at our cost log online, we probably average somewhere between $400 and $500 a month.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because we tend to be able to, we have a lot of friends across the country that have places for us to park.
And we make them as we go, too.
We make them that we made as we go, so we do get some free camping opportunities. We have been invited in by some RV parks if we'll talk about Lithium or something like that for, they'll give us a free spot for a little bit. We do some Walmart overnight. If we're in transition, we'll do some Walmarts and rest stops occasionally. We generally consider ourselves doing really well if we're doing under $600 a month. Now, some months, like last winter when my dad was first diagnosed with cancer, we're in Florida. The only park that had availability was like $825 a month. Well, we really had no other option. We took it. Weren't happy about it. It wasn't a great park, but we took it so that we could be close to my parents. So it really, really just matters on where you're at. When we're out in San Francisco, I mean, there's some places where it's expensive to be if you want to be someplace. And, we've had months where it costs us $800-900 a month to have an RV park. And we've been others where it only costs us a couple hundred. So it all averages out. And, it's just a matter of your personal preference on that. Let's see. So we've got a question about do we carry commercial insurance on our bus? No, we do not. The bus is actually titled as a personal Class A motorhome because it is converted as an RV, so we do not have to carry commercial insurance on it. We do not have to have it registered as a commercial vehicle. It is currently registered in South Dakota, which does not have any requirements like that. There are some states, however, that if you're over a certain weight, you do have to, or length, that you may have to register your RV as a commercial vehicle. But we've picked, that's one of the considerations when you're picking a domicile, is how you do that. So no, ours is not a commercial vehicle, so no, we don't have to carry commercial insurance on it. How much clothes do you really need? My wife wants to know this one.
You want to talk about the first rig?
Okay, so when we were living in the tab, you want to bring the picture up of that? Will it come up?
Easier to.
Okay, bring the iPad over to the tab.
So here's kind of our history of homes. There's the tab. Is a 16-foot amazing little clamshell teardrop that had made my home before I met Cherie, and it just started on the road, and that's when we had that first date. Was I got to show her what my life was like living in this little tab thing. It's as you see, the kitchen is a hatch out the back. It had very little space inside, one small hanging closet, basically, and some drawers. So it was already tight for one person, and then, having Cherie move in made for quite a challenge. And just to finish the wall here before I bring the thing back, then as our second rig this is the light-painted version of our Oliver, which is a 17-foot fiberglass trailer, which had much more storage and much more amenities and much more tech. And then, of course, there's the light painting of our bus. I think you can see that there.
All right. So, how much clothing do you actually need? Well, that's obviously a personal thing. But our first 4 or 5 years on the road were in very, very small RVs, and I had I think it was about 24-inch by 12-inch drawer that all my clothing had to fit into. And Chris had I like clothing that I don't have to iron or care for, so if it can fold and crumple up into a box, that's good with me. That worked for me. And I like variety in my clothing. So our trick to having a lot of clothing and a lot of variety is we'll frequently go to thrift stores and shop and find cool new threads. And, for every shirt we bring in, we gift one back to the donation store. Now, since we've gotten the bus, we have a huge closet. I have four drawers. And he's got 4 shelves.
And a huge amount of hanging clothes. Seems like huge to us. And it all is dwarfed by the walk-in closet that Cherie used to have at her house. But you don't need a lot. You need one set of clothes, if you're going to wash them every day or whatnot. Oh. As far as want, you need to have enough to be comfortable in. I guess we used to basically go with we had enough clothes to go for 2 weeks without doing laundry.
Yeah, we like we hate doing laundry, we hate chores. We have a minimum to do 2 weeks. We have a lot more now with the bus. I actually have open space. Yeah. This is really weird. It's a year and a half later, and we have open space. So I'm actually enjoying now that I can buy something without having to make a decision to get rid of something, which is kind of cool. And we also go to a lot of festivals like Burning Man and regionals and sci-fi conventions, and we like to dress up. We like to put on he has a kilt that takes up like a drawer. It's huge. So we have fun costumes. I've got a hairpiece that takes up a fifth of my closet. We like costuming, so for us it's been fun that we can now carry our whole Burning Man attire with us and have fun costuming for when we're going to events and stuff like that. So for us, it's how much you need. Well, that's a personal thing.
Just when it was getting juiced. I'm guessing that we're being truncated by ads, and I have no idea how.
Yes, we do apologize for the ads. Ustream charges $99 per month to have a professional account without ads. If you don't know this about us already, Nomadic is our gift. We blog, we write, we probably put in 20 to 30 hours a week onto the blog to provide content to our readers. When we do these chats, they're our time. We're not selling you anything or anything like that. Obviously, we're not going to pay $100 a month to sit here and talk to you. So you're going to have to put up with some ads. I'm sorry. Now, if you would like to sponsor us and pay the $100 a month for us, then we'll be happy to talk.
Yeah, and or if you've got suggestions on ways to do something like this that doesn't involve Ustream, if you've got other ideas, this is still an experimental thing for us. Apparently, people seem to enjoy it, so that's why we are doing it for the second time. Yes.
So if you could please quit commenting about the ads on there, to make it a lot easier for us to follow up on the questions that are coming on the stream. Let's see. What is our best advice for a new RVer? The real advice, the things that new folks always overlook.
We kind of give some of the first-timer advice over and over again. I'd say the mistake I've seen people make, the costly mistake, is buying something brand new and that they think is their ideal. This is what they really, really want. And particularly for your first RV, just get something close, get something old, get something used, and just get started, because after a year you'll learn so much and be able to pick and intelligently, if you're going to invest in something new, do a year's worth of trial run first in something close proximate is cheap.
Right, because you really don't know how you're going to travel after, when you first hit off. You might have these grandiose ideas of you're going to go to every national park, or you're going to be staying for a month at a time at each place, or you really just don't know what it's going to feel like to downsize your life into an RV and be on the road for that long, and what pace of travel is going to feel right for you. After the first year, you'll start to you'll look around and you say, you know what? My life would be 50% better if the couch was 2 inches over. It really does get to that level of detail.
So what happens, I've seen this over and over again, is people spend their entire budget on something new, and then because it's something new, they can't then feel comfortable knocking out a wall or ripping out the furniture, making any major modifications, because, they're then destroying the resale value, so they're paranoid to make any changes of it, and then they're frustrated. And so they've spent everything on something that then they feel like they're trapped in and they can't change. If you've got unlimited budget or unlimited willingness to, start making changes.
Let me give you my PayPal account.
then go for it. But more often than not, people who buy something, if you buy something old, it's not working for you, then I'm going to make a major change, or sell it and trade it in and get something better. Take that.
So a new RV more than likely is going to depreciate hugely in that first year, and if you decide that it's not going to work for you,
you're trapped.
You're trapped with it, or taking a loss on it. We had one guy who came to us, and we do take on occasionally, personally advising people to get on the road as a gift, and we strongly advised him to find something used and for well under what his budget was. He didn't listen to us. He went and bought a $100,000 brand new rig, and 3 weeks later he was on the phone with us. You know what?
It was a mistake.
It was a huge mistake. I didn't, and
the features that he was really turned on by certain things that in fantasy he thought, like, he'd have this really great big living room inside. He wanted a very small rig with a big living area, and the bed actually was this really unique design that dropped down from the ceiling. So it'd turn into a bedroom to a big living room inside this, like, Class B plus C, very high-endish thing, but very compact.
And then the bed would then lift up, and then his office space would be underneath. So that meant that every time you wanted to convert from work mode to sleep mode,
right,
you had to convert the bed. Now, this is why we got rid of our first trailer.
Yes. And so he discovered on his very first trip cross-country, after spending 6 figures on this, before he even got back to his home base, that he ended up spending more nights than not sleeping on the couch because it was such a hassle because he couldn't bring the bed down from the ceiling unless he put the slides out, and if he was just stopping for a night, it was too big of a hassle, and he'd have to move things around and change. So he was sleeping on the couch, and he was putting his back out because he was sleeping on the couch, and it was like, but that was his max budget. He'd already spent it, and it was now depreciating. So.
Right. So really, now we say buy your first one used. Don't follow. Our first 2 RVs were new. The Tab was brand new when Chris bought it. However, he only spent like $12,000 on it. Mm-hmm. He put solar on it. A year and a half later, we sold it for $12,000. The Oliver we had custom made for us, brand new. We bought it for like $30,000, I think it was. Well, we traded a lot of. We designed how the electric solar side would work. It's kind of hard to say because we did a lot of work and trade with Oliver, the company. We actually consulted with them and helped them devise solar for their product. But then we sold it for more than we bought it for. So we're weird.
We're the anomaly.
We're the anomaly. Don't listen to us. The bus we bought used. Yay, good for us.
Yeah, and
our third RV.
And if I was going back in time, even knowing everything I did, I would have told myself, don't buy the new Tab. I knew that right away after I bought it new. There was all these issues with it, and I was like, okay, I want to get these fixed, and I'm trying to get the dealer to fix them, and, you buy something new, you think you're going to be protected by a warranty. Well, particularly if you're a full-timer trying to live in it, the dealer will say, okay, well, if you bring it by in 3 weeks, we should be able to get that handled sometime over the next 5 after that, and we'll have it back to you in 2 months. I'm living in it. No, that doesn't work.
So yeah, warranties are
almost useless unless you go high enough end.
Yeah. With the Oliver, our warranty with them was they would pay for any repairs needed, anywhere. I mean, it would be like we had a wiring issue that came up. We pulled into a Camping World. Oliver actually called in their credit card number to pay for the work.
We never even knew the cost. Oliver's like, we'll
that's
pay
rare.
For it
that's
and
rare.
have
Do
it
not
back on the
expect
road
that.
in an hour. But yeah, most warranties, particularly on most cheaper mobile products, mobile RVs, are useless, and they try to get you to go only back to the dealer you bought it from, which is also not very useful for a traveler. So I ended up with my brand new Tab, straight from the factory. I'm dismantling it completely, not all the way completely, but I'm like ripping out, actually almost completely. I'm ripped an entire back hatch off and had to redo the entire hinge, had to redo the interior cabinetry because I found screws and nails that were never even connected properly. It came from the factory, very, very poorly constructed. Brilliant design, very, very poor quality control. And so I had to redo it myself, but actually that was a great learning experience for me because I had a friend who was experienced with doing some of this stuff, and by doing it with him, I felt comfortable taking the rig apart, and I knew where every screw, nut, and bolt was, and I had rewired it myself from scratch to be solar capable. So I left that first 6 months with the Tab, having gone through this incredible boot camp, and if I'd paid more than I had for it, if it had gotten a really expensive rig, I would not have been comfortable ripping it apart to rebuild it and make it bigger, faster, stronger. $6 million man.
I can say, after having been now in 3 RVs, 2 brand new and the third one used, we had far more problems with the first brand new ones than we have with the bus that was 50 years old.
Yes, the bugs shake out, over time. So the older something
let's go on to the next question. When you're boondocking, is it like camping? Like, how often do you build a campfire and cook outside? Build a campfire. The few times we've boondocked, we don't build campfires because we're not that outdoorsy. If we do a campfire, I think we've done like 4 in our entire time on the 7 years. because campfires are really lame.
Well, and campfires are fun when it's big and social.
When you're with people, and we're usually on our own, so it's not fun.
We've been around a lot of campfires that are other people's campfires.
Oh, and they're stinky, awful, and you hate it.
We've gone like hanging out at Sam and Tracy's campfires or other.
No. When you're at like a state park.
Oh.
And you're just trying to live your life, and you've got like
7 people around you
all burning campfires, and you're like coughing because you can't breathe.
That's
true.
It's
not fun.
It's like that.
So no, campfires, we don't do them very often. We don't consider our life camping. This is our home, and we're moving in. And when you're boondocking,
we grill outside lots.
We do grill outside occasionally.
We've got a little outside grill.
Boondocking. It's been so long since we've boondocked. I just really can't comprehend that concept right now. It's been a long time. We've been focused on family for a while, so we really haven't done much boondocking lately.
Not boondocking other than the Walmart style boondocking.
No. We've been at we went to the Oshkosh Air Show.
Oh yeah, that was a whole week of boondocking there.
That was a week of boondocking. I mean, boondocking just means you're without hookups. It doesn't mean that you're out in the boonies necessarily.
Yeah.
But our last time really off grid or not being hooked up was either overnighting at Walmart.
And we had a joint campfire between us at Oshkosh that one night. Yes.
Yeah.
It was more his fire than ours, but it was still.
Yeah, and Michael burned up his little campfire thing. That was fun.
Oh, yes, he did.
Yeah. So it's not something we do. We do very often.
Okay. How long does 50 gallons of water last?
How long? Okay. So how long does 50 gallons of water last when boondocking? Now, in the Oliver, we had 38 gallons of fresh water. We could make, the two of us, that last for about 2 weeks. Now, we were taking baby showers. We're using baby wipes to clean ourselves with. We were putting dribbles of water into a cup to brush our teeth. We were washing dishes with a spray bottle.
But you can go very long.
You can go as minimalistic as you want with your water. So 50 gallons for 2 people. I mean, you could make that last 2 or 3 weeks if you really needed to.
And so right now we've got 100 gallons.
Right now we have a 100-gallon freshwater tank, and we find that if we're not even thinking about it,
2 weeks-ish,
we can go easily 10 days
without
even being conservative. I mean, this is like leaving the water on while you're soaping up in the shower and having a shower that lasts like 2 minutes. It's really cool. Now, if we wanted to make up the 100 gallons, we could go back into our extreme water conservation modes that we did in the Oliver. And we can make our 100 gallons last easily a month if we needed to.
Probably, yeah.
But I can't say I want to because it's not fun.
Yeah. Somebody wants to see your big hairpiece.
You go look on the blog, look at Burning Man pictures. It's all there. Let's see. Thanks for answering my questions. I know you folks work from your rig. I work from home. Now for a year, I need solid internet. I know you folks have some issues with that. Any advice?
Did you see the post yesterday?
So if you have questions about mobile internet, we answered a lot of that at the beginning of this one, a lot of the last chat questions, and the most current post on our blog is 7,000 words on mobile internet.
So the biggest, simplest piece of advice for mobile internet, if a big reliable connection is important to you, let go of it being always reliable.
Always on.
Yeah, build in expectations with your clients and stuff that you might have instead of bad hair days, you'll have bad net days, and you'll deal with it. And you might have to deal with it by, some days commute to a Panera or a Starbucks and deal with it that way. And then the other thing is have redundancy. Right now we've got LTE speed connections with both Verizon and AT&T, and we pay a lot per month for our connectivity. But we've got the 2 biggest networks that we can switch between. So if one network is having strange hiccups, we switch over to the other. And we also, if we really need it, we've got the satellite dish down in the bay, and we can pull that out and reactivate that. So we've got a lot of redundancy. Redundancy, multiple networks, multiple devices, multiple ways to get online, and then some flexibility so that if you're not able to get online, delay your meetings, delay your calls, and go to just hop in the car. You've got wheels, so start driving towards the nearest place you've got coverage. And we actually wrote an app for that specific reason. Our app coverage came about from where can we go to get a decent signal. We're in the middle of nowhere. We've got work to do. We don't care what's scenic at the moment. We just want to find which way do we drive to find a fast signal. Go that way. And, that's it.
So on that same topic, I was just checking on Facebook, and someone asked a question there about how would you get Wi-Fi on a Wi-Fi Ranger, like if you were like at a public, like a library or something. And basically, the Wi-Fi Ranger just is constantly scoping out what open networks are around, and it just pings onto them.
Yeah,
it's pretty simple.
It's not quite as simple as that. In theory, it should be completely automatic and find the next connection. One of the glitches now is that you have to just go to the Wi-Fi Ranger control panel. It's just a bookmark you have, and say scan, and it'll present a list of all the connections that it finds, and then say join. Currently, one of the things that is broken is it's automatically finding new networks. It doesn't automatically find them anymore. That's a feature that is slipped through the cracks. But you just have to go manually and say scan and then join, and it'll then join the Wi-Fi connections that it finds. It'll list them whether they're. It'll list them all in a. We've got screenshots. In our last post, actually has one of the screenshots of the control panel again, showing one place in Austin, I think, where I picked up like 50 networks in range of the Wi-Fi Ranger, and it'll show the network, how strong the signal is, and whether it's password protected or not. It's open or it's got a WPA password, and then you can join, and then it'll ask you for the password if it has it. So a lot of RV parks will give you the password when you check in, and then you're online. And then the Wi-Fi Ranger rebroadcasts that signal as an internal Wi-Fi network that's password protected just for you, as well as it also has Ethernet ports. So if you want to avoid Wi-Fi congestion and noise, you can plug in wired fashion as well. All
right. How does your health insurance work? That's a big topic. We currently have individual HSA PPO plans, which means that we have no coverage, basically. We pay a lot of money for nothing.
But if there's a catastrophe or a cancer or...
Right. So basically, we have a $5,000 deductible each. And anything below $5,000 a year, we pay out of pocket. But we pay money into an HSA, which is Health Savings Account, and that means every dollar we put into the HSA account is
not taxed.
Is not taxed. So it comes right off of our adjusted annual income on our taxes. So if we put $500 a year into our HSA, that's $500 a year. We don't pay into our tax account or taxes or whatever. You can pay up to your deductible amount, I think, each year. It works for us. I mean, we're both young enough that we don't have major medical issues right now, and if something major came up, it would protect us from having a total, like destruction of our savings or anything like that.
$5,000 is
it
could hit us.
Yeah, so $5,000 is the max either of us would pay out of pocket each year. Hopefully, with Obamacare, that might be changing, and I'll be rewriting the healthcare article on our blog soon. Now that we know that Obamacare will be real, which we are thrilled about. We think it has a lot of benefits for nomads. When you're looking for mobile-friendly healthcare, look for a policy that has a nationwide network of providers. A lot of them are very regionally based, and you may only have, like, if you have a $5,000 deductible, but your provider network is only within 200 miles of where your legal address is. Well, as you're mobile, you're probably not living near your legal address. So if you choose a network that is not nationwide, just know what your out-of-network costs are going to be I mean, it's perfectly valid to pick a local-based network and just figuring on your out-of-network deductibles to be what your cost is going to be. So in our case, if we had out-of-network, we picked a nationwide plan, but let's say we had a $5,000 in-network thing. It was only valid in South Dakota. If we needed care down here in Florida right now, we'd have a $10,000 deductible. Right. Fortunately, that's not the case for us right now. But if you're insured through an employer, look and see what your plan covers. It's probably an HMO or a PPO that's very locally based, and you'll be paying out of network rates.
Unless you happen to have a nationwide employer, in which case some of the employer plans from big companies that have offices across the country are the best possible coverages that you can possibly get, because they've got employees everywhere, so they've got coverage everywhere.
So we have a question from Joni about what is the best thing about living mobily and what is the worst? Best thing I would say is having the choice to be where you want to be. So whether that's, like this year, our travels have been very based around being near family. My father's going through cancer treatment, so I want to be near my family right now. His grandmother turned 90 over the summer.
We got to be there for the big 90th birthday family reunion.
Yeah. Some years it might be like, we want to go to Burning Man, so we just live at Burning Man for a while. So the best part about being mobile is you have choice in where you're going to be, and your house has wheels or airplane wings or holes or whatever your substrate is. You have choice.
And the worst part?
Is you have choice.
Choice can be a headache sometimes.
Choice can be a headache sometimes. When you've got a friend who's getting married and you have a relative who's having a first kid, or you have someone who's going through a rough time, or you've got someone who's graduating from college, and you want to be at all these events, but they're in different corners of the world or the country. You have extreme choice and mobility to be anywhere. And some of your friends and family might expect that means that you'll be there for every major event. It's exhausting to move about a lot. It costs in your daily life budget to do a repositioning. And there might be many times where you can theoretically think that, yeah, I can be there for that wedding. I can be there for that graduation. Yeah, I can be there. But no, I just don't have the energy right now to be there. So your network and your social community becomes very, very widespread, and sometimes you might just,
feel spread thin. You
might be very spread thin because as you travel, you're going to connect with lots of amazing people. You're going to connect with people when you travel. You're going to renew friendships that's from people who had moved out of your life physically, and you're going to renew friendships while you're out there. You're going to be meeting new friends. You're going to be meeting other nomads who are also moving about. And
you'll end up with these things. You'll be on all these people's Facebooks, and you'll get invited to and hear about local events that you're no longer local to, and you'll be like, I want to be there and see that, and all those people are having fun without me, and I'm, you could have days where you feel very out of the loop because, social networks that you've been a part of in the past are doing cool, exciting things, and you're kind of off in the middle of somewhere else.
Right, and that leads back to, it's like you no longer have a local community. So, when you're living in one place, you have an opportunity to build a local community of people that you see often, who know more about your daily life, who see your entire story, people who you might get together with a couple times a month and catch up with over lunch or dinner or movies or game nights or whatever it is. You really don't get that when you're mobile.
Now, we've got other nomads we rendezvous with, but it's great, but it's also not like constant. It's not like you see them every week. We might see them a couple times a year, and we love that.
And if you've got big things going up in your life, or they have big things going up in their life, you now get the Facebook version of it. And to everybody, you are no longer within really anyone's local. You're no longer really in anyone's inner circle because most people treat their communities by geography. So they might share the big stuff that's up in their life with their local community that they're seeing regularly. And while they may, when you're in person with them, they may be sharing deeply with you, and you may be sharing deeply with them. When you're 2,000 miles away the next week, you're now outside their sphere. And it is an adjustment. It is really much an adjustment. With that. So I would say that's the worst part is learning to rethink how you interact with people in community.
And getting comfortable with it being on again, off again.
Right, and realizing that just because you're not in someone's close sphere doesn't mean when you are physically close to them that you're not important to them.
Why did you decide to go full-timing?
Well, you went full-time reverse, so...
Yeah, it's something that I'd always wanted to do.
Talk about Steve?
Yeah, so Steve's, go see Microship, microship.com. Microship.com is Steve Roberts. He's the guy who coined the word technomad and is now a very good friend of mine. But back in, I guess in the early 90s, he had written a book called Computing Across America about his adventures selling his house and selling all his possessions and hitting the road in a computerized recumbent bicycle, and all the adventures he had along the way, and the whole idea that with technology you could take it with you. You could still be connected to friends and family and to work while traveling and not needing a home base. It's technology enabled you to have it all, and that was like lit up. I was like, wow, that's exactly what I want, and somebody is actually doing it. I had the dream, and then seeing somebody making it work in such an incredible fashion on a bicycle, even, kind of cemented the seed in my head, and it's like something I want to do. I really want to go do that someday, and from then on, I had a series of awesome jobs that were always too good to leave until finally my job at Palm dissolved. And PalmSource dissolved, and I was like, I don't want another job. I've got all the connections in the world. I can go find another regular Silicon Valley job and stay here in California. I could never get a better job than I had. It's not financial-wise, but fun-wise and challenge-wise. So I'm going to evict myself and hit the road and try and live technomatically and use technology to live and work and connect and travel and do this. And I didn't really have any other good examples of people who've done it since Steve. I wasn't really in touch with any other nomads like this at the time, but I really wanted to do this, and so bought the tab, gave myself basically 2 months notice. I called my landlord and said, I'll be out April 1st. This is irrevocable, so you can start showing the apartment. And then I panicked and found and put all the pieces together, hit the road, and the next thing I know, I've got this stalker girl online trying to track me down and saying, hey, can I move in with you?
I did not say, hey, can I move in with you? My story is very different. I've run a software development business with my parents since the early 90s. It's a business my dad started in the late 70s, so I grew up with it. Nepotism at its best. Yay. Actually, it's a very conscious choice to continue being it, and I'm good at it. So not nepotism, really. It's, anyway, I've always worked from home, and we always told our clients when we talked to them on the phone or an email that we could be answering their support requests from anywhere, like the pool or the beach is kind of what we meant. And then I realized, wait a minute, I can get a laptop, and I think it was around 2000, 2001 I got my first smartphone, ironically a Palm device, which I didn't know that my sweetie here was working on at the time. And I could tether from it, and I could check email and keep in touch with my clients, and whoa, I could travel personally and go see things and visit friends and still work my normal day. And my partner at the time and I he had a very mobile job. He was a software engineer for hospitals and installing their imaging systems, and he was doing a lot of travel. And we had actually contemplating buying a big Class A motorhome, and I would live in it with him, and we'd travel everywhere, and I would do my software business remotely from anywhere. And, we decided not to because we couldn't find a way to carry a hot tub with us, and that was very important at the time. Well, then I met Sean and Louise, who do carry a hot tub with them, so maybe we could have. But anyway, we didn't do it. We decided to buy a house instead in Florida, and he continued to travel a lot, and so the idea was already planned in my mind that I could be mobile. And when I met Chris, my sweetie at the time had already decided we're on very different life paths. So I was kind of more in an open mode to meeting somebody. And I was actually in the process of moving out to California when I met Chris. So I was doing a lot of travel out there and meeting people, and he happened to be someone who was already in my social sphere.
Yeah, a friend in common.
We had a lot of friends in common who we hadn't yet met in person, and we kind of met outside of that, but it was because it's very complicated. And he was already living mobily, and here I had this house in Florida that I couldn't sell because the market was crashing, and I wanted to move to California, or I wanted some big change in my life. I knew I wanted change in my life. And when he had this little tab trailer, I'm like, wait a minute, I can continue to pay my mortgage on the house until it can sell, and I can move into your little tiny trailer. New relationship energy can make you do crazy things. And I can still run my company mobily. I can go travel, which I've always loved to do. I've been traveling since I was like 2 months old. I was solo traveling in my early teens overseas. I spent most summer in high school traveling throughout Russia on my own. And so, yeah, the seeds were well planted for me to join up with him. And
we just clicked right away.
It clicked. I mean, there's no easier way to say it. It's just...
By the end of that first date, boondocking on Treasure Island, she was inviting me to come to Florida, and I was like, well, sure, I'm in California, but Florida's on the way to where I'm going for Christmas. Sure, I'll be there. Sounds great. And so it all lined up.
So, yeah, that was 6 years ago that we had our first date, about thereabouts, and we've been doing trial runs since then, and it was May 10th, 2007 that I officially hit the road full time with him, and that's what I consider to be my Nomadiversary, but we've done a lot of trial runs in the tab before then. I know that's not a simple answer. I'm sorry. Whoever asked, why did you decide to go full time? It's never a simple answer. Cindy asked how my dad's doing. Right now, we're in a very good spot. He has lung cancer. It's not curable. But
it's very treatable at the moment.
It's very treatable, and right now we're treating the little things and trying to extend his life as much as possible. Yes, it has been an extremely tough year.
But he's doing
right now, doing very well, and the next few months look very good. So we're very, very happy about that. Interesting story there. He had actually started to become nomadic when I did. Started doing little semi-nomadic travels, and if there's one lesson I can say is, if you're considering being nomadic, don't put it off.
Yes.
Do not put it off. You do not know what life complications will come up for you in that time. So anything can happen. And if this is your calling, don't say 2018 is the year you're going to do it. If you're not thinking
next year,
it's really you're really not in control of making that decision. And
you can do long-term planning, but if you're doing long-term planning, at the very least, put a very specific date, not a year, on the calendar. You can always move it, but put a date. And like I'm hitting the road on, for me it was April 1st. It's like I'm hitting the road April 1st. One way or the other, I'm out the door.
Right.
I'll be
sleeping
on a couch.
And I mean, if you're putting this off for 5 or 10 years from now, really consider yourself. Look at your life and say, look back 5 or 10 years from what your life is now, and really ask yourself, could you have predicted where you're at now? Could you have predicted everything that's happened to you now? Because, I don't know, when I look back 5 years, I couldn't predict I'd be living in a vintage bus, having gone on an Amtrak rail pass adventure to find it after having just lived 5 months in the Virgin Islands.
Those are all things I would have predicted.
Yeah, because he's crazy.
No, I expect the unexpected.
Right, and that's really what it is anything can happen. It could be a health issue, it could be a relationship change, it could be a work change or money change, it could be anything that affects your life. And if this is what you really want, until you make it a priority in your life, it's not going to happen. And, that's been the big thing that's been my dad wanted this. He wanted to be nomadic, and his health now is definitely a big damper on that.
How much time do you spend in and out of the bus per day?
Oh, well, the real question that Greg asked was, have we worn you out yet? Okay, not have we worn out yet. Okay.
Yeah.
How much time do you spend in and out of the bus per day? There are days we literally do not step outside the bus.
The cat might go outside, but not us. We'll just put her leash on attach her to the front door and let her out. We're homebodies, especially Cherie, and we just like to open the windows and let the breeze blow through and watch the world go by outside. And some days we don't step outside.
Yeah, there are days. I am used to working from home. I am used to having a lot of solitude. Chris is very unique in that I can spend a lot of time within arm reach of him. And there are times I have to kick him out, though. I am extremely introverted. I have to psych myself up to do this, to interact in person and even on video. And there are days that it's like, I got to get out of here. How much on a daily basis? It really depends upon the day. If I spend a day outside of the bus doing errands or meeting people, I need a day of recovery. It's just my introverted way.
I'm a switch introvert extrovert sometimes. Sometimes sometimes actually I feel more homebody than Sri. I'm just like, I don't want to talk to a single other person. I just want to be completely isolated on a mountain by myself, and I don't get that opportunity very often. And other days I'm like, I want to go visit lots of people or go out and wander the world and stuff.
And by introverted, that doesn't mean shy.
Yeah.
Just so you know that it's just where you get your energy from. And if I expend energy interacting with people, I have to recharge it with alone time. And I'm definitely a homebody. We read about a lot and talk to a lot of travelers who are staying in hostels and couch surfing. And I honestly, the thought of those things just mortify me.
I'm completely down with couch surfing and hostels, though.
I can't. It would drain me. If I feel I'm an imposition in anyone's life, it will completely drain me instantly. So I just can't do that. I need my own space, and I know that without a doubt. So, and sometimes I need to be in my own space for extended periods of time, and that's why I like having an RV, or we're thinking about someday maybe having a boat. I need my own home. I need to feel connected to a home. I don't care if it has wheels and can move and the view can change, but I need to have my space around me.
Wish you could kick other people out and just be.
Yeah.
And
what is the nature of our work, and do you work nonstop? No, we do not work nonstop, thank goodness.
Some days, yes.
Some days, yes. We are software developers. I have run a company with my father for the past 20 years, him about 20 years before that. We do custom software development for some pretty high-end clients. I project manage now these days. I don't do as much coding myself anymore, but I do database management, report creation. I do a lot of the training for users. I do technical documentation, email support, high-end Tier Level 2 support, stuff like that. Chris has a background in mobile tech.
Mobile tech, computer science. I've been a spy. I've been a magazine editor. I've been a background in computer science and engineering and networking, and I've done all sorts of many fun things. And some of the projects on the most public-facing stuff that we do is our iPhone apps, and so I've done all the programming on that, and Shree's done all the graphic design and map making and such. So those are the most visible of the things.
Right. So on the Technomadia blog and Facebook page, you'll see us most often talk about our apps coverage in state lines. They actually represent maybe 5% of our income, if that some days. Yeah. Those are little apps that we created to solve problems that we had in our own travels, and they're part of our nomadic story. So that's the ones we talk about. We don't talk about our big clients. They're not part of our story. I've had them since before we hit the road together. People do hire us that don't wish to be disclosed on a public blog. Yeah.
Every so often we get just random consulting jobs, and then we do things that are on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, like we did a stint packing boxes at Amazon a couple Christmases ago. Not so much for the money, but mostly for the experience of it all. The money is good, and it is good too, but it was we like to have. I actually kind of wish there was a way to just sign up for interesting jobs for 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah, we're experienced junkies.
I would take almost any job if I can do it for just 2 weeks. And I wish I could just do that without having to go through the process of finding jobs. Just for the fun of it all.
Right, so we have taken on some fun little gigs temporarily. As far as our work pace, we tend to take on projects where we're working anywhere from 3 to 8 weeks at a time developing a new product or software project or a modification to a system we've already done. We're working at Amazon or helping a company do a product launch or something like that. But we like working 12-hour days nonstop, 7 days a week for a short period of time. And then after that, we might go 4, 5, 6 weeks without thinking about it. Where we might be in maintenance mode, answering an email here and there, taking a phone call or whatnot, and more spending time with family or seeing things or speaking at conferences or whatever. What else do we do? Oh, worshiping the cat. Yes,
the cat. Where's the cat?
She's still in bed.
Jeez. She's
lazy.
No, she's actually hiding. Yeah.
So while we're on the topic of running a business on the road, we did have a question that was asked by Russ earlier in the day in email. He wasn't able. I don't think he's able to join the chat. If you are out there, Russ, then this is for you. He asked about taxes in running a business on the road.
And making your home on wheels tax deductible.
Right. So he was asked about the tax implications of being a full-time RVer and running your business on the road. Number one, if you have a loan on your RV and it is your full-time home, yes, you do qualify for taking the tax deduction. Now, for that to exceed your standard deduction amount, you'd probably have to have a very expensive rig. Mm-hmm. We have paid cash for all of our rigs, so this doesn't apply to us.
You don't have a mortgage.
We don't have a mortgage. We're completely debt-free. We don't have any tax interest to write off. Mm-hmm. But yes, if you do go and buy a $250,000 rig and you're paying and you finance it, yes, you can write that interest off. As far as running a business out of your RV home, it's the same as running a business out of your home. You have to have a designated office space that you can say is dedicated to being office work. You can write off that square footage as a percentage of your overall home. So in our case, it's maybe 20 square feet out of 200 square feet. That's honestly too much bookkeeping for me. But you can write off a portion of your utilities, your rent, your travel expenses, your maintenance, and things like that. For us, it would work out to way too little to be worthwhile at the time, so we don't.
We know other people who do. And it's a big part of what they do. It's a complicated, headache-inducing mess. And
you know, it's hard for us to justify it because when we're sitting at our computers, we may be working or we may be chatting with friends.
We blend our personal lives and our work lives so thoroughly that it's very hard to say any one thing is this is dedicated to work.
So we don't do it that way. What we do instead is if a client asks us to come to a city to be on site with them, we may write off a portion of the mileage to get to them. Usually we'll look up what the airfare would have been to get to them, and that's kind of what we figure the mileage to be, is what the expense would be. We'll write off the campground fees while we're visiting that client. Any meals that we have while they're
with the client and such.
Now, the problem that you get into is writing off travel expenses as a full-time RVer is that the government code knows about the difference between domicile and residency. And they consider your domicile to be a legal thing and your residency to be where you live. And they know that you live in your RV and you're only able to write off travel expenses when you're traveling away from your residence. So it's very difficult. You have to be able to strongly justify that you are traveling for work. Because they know that when you're traveling in your RV to go visit something or to do something in work, like if you're writing a book or doing something travel-related, like a blog or something like that, they know that you're also living in your home, which is taking the place of what your home expenses would be if you owned a house. So there's not a lot of precedence with this, and it's kind of uncharted territory. So you are on tricky ground if you're writing off travel expenses for traveling in your home. So be very careful with that.
Yeah. And and if you're a small fish, then you're not likely to be hunted down. And if you're a big fish, then you're going to have a big tax accountant to justify it all.
If you're writing off a couple $100 a year in travel expenses, you're probably never going to have to stand up to an audit to it. If you're writing off $200,000 a year in travel expenses, you might have to.
Right.
So be very careful about that. As far as equipment for your business, we do write off a portion of our equipment expenses for computers because we do share them personally and business-wise. So when we're taking our deduction Section 179 write-offs on our K1s, we actually do put a percentage of, so when we buy a new computer, we actually mark a percentage that is for business use versus personal use. Recognizing that, because if I ever have to sit down in front of an auditor, I am physically incapable of lying. I just can't do it. I would sweat, I would break out, I would giggle, I would laugh. So when I'm filling out my tax forms, if I cannot justify it and hold a straight face to an auditor, I don't do it. But you might be different. Mm-hmm. Just know there's no precedence in it, and there's probably a lot of plausible deniability in the tax codes.
Right. As long as you're making an honest effort, that's one of the things that the tax code most looks for. Is if you're making an honest effort and you're audited, you'll generally be able then just to make it right. Whatever the outcome of the audit, if you demonstrate you've made an honest effort, then you don't have huge penalties. If it's a dishonest effort, then you're facing all sorts of problems. Right. So get good advice. Go find professional advice, particularly for whatever your personal situation is, and do your best. We've talked with our lawyer and are doing our best legitimately to be above board and legal. Yeah.
We try to make informed guesses. I mean, there's no really specific tax code that says
here's how nomads should do it.
Yeah, there's no nomadic tax code that's really written in the books, and it's a lot of guesswork. And there are tax professionals out there
that specialize in
it for RVers. We mentioned some of them in our banking and financial chapter.
And there's people the places where a lot of people make income on the road and who have big incomes and have had to face these tax issues are people who travel like rock stars and or sports, big time professional sports. So there are tax attorneys who specialize in that sort of thing of being on the road, living on the road type, blah blah blah. So some of these problems have been dealt with, but we're mostly way under the radar and making a very good, honest effort to do it right.
Yeah.
Yep.
How challenging is it to travel with an animal?
There's that first. How do you find your campgrounds and make reservations if you do when traveling?
Okay. How do we find our campgrounds?
Serendipity.
We have a couple apps that we use on our iPads and iPhones. Campware, All Stays, RV Parking are kind of some of our favorites. We'll kind of scope out what's on there, see what's around. We go to RV Parking or RV Review.
RV Park Reviews.
RVParkreviews.com and look up reviews. We do internet searches, see what's around. Sometimes we just see them as they're passing down the road.
Sometimes we just drive in. One thing we've discovered is more often than not, we do just fine playing it by ear, and have actually been burned by trying to make reservations, because you're making reservations sight unseen, and you get someplace, and you've already committed, and you're like, oh, as opposed to if you go, you pull in, and it either feels good or it doesn't, and more often than not, you find a spot, and it fits in the universal lines. We've been burned by making reservations in advance. We do it sometimes.
Like if we need to be somewhere for an event or something like that, we will make reservations. But by and large, we don't.
Yeah, and we just try and find some top contenders, go there, and work it out a piece at a time.
How challenging is it traveling with an animal?
How challenging is it living with an animal? It's I don't think it's all that much different.
Than what?
Living with an animal, traveling is this.
Yeah. If you like pets, and I've always had cats. I have to change the litter box. I have to watch out for her needs. I have to make sure she's fed, make sure she has water, make sure she goes to the vets and gets her shots. It's the challenging thing is we have different.
The travel part is actually pretty simple.
The travel part's pretty simple, but as we travel about, we have different concerns, different flea infestations. She's been bitten by a rattlesnake before. Yeah. So you have to be aware of your local environment as you're changing and what the threats are. But if you're an animal person, it's just part of your life to integrate your life with your animals. If you're never had a pet and you're bringing on a pet, well, that's going to be a challenge. I can't say there's any specific things that are more difficult traveling with Kiki than finding pet sitters can be a challenge if we're going there's a lot of RV-friendly events like festivals, music festivals, or Burning Man.
That are officially have no pets allowed policy.
Right, so you have to find a pet sitter.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a new town and you don't know anybody, well, finding a pet sitter could be difficult. So you might have to get inventive with it. Use couch surfing, go on Craigslist, find pet sitting services or boarders or whatnot. Call in favors with friends. We plead and beg and cry on Facebook.
Usually we get multiple offers because Kiki's adorable. So.
Oh yeah, she is adorable. But that's. Really is.
Yeah, it's particularly in we've got space now, so Kiki is chill traveling. She travel days are just days for her to sit on Tree's lap. Okay, we're gonna bring the cat out for a guest appearance. Here comes the potato.
Kiki.
Hey Kiki, answer questions. Any questions for the cat? Kiki? Yes.
Do you have questions for Kiki?
There we go.
Okay.
Questions for the cat now. There we go. She's cute, of course. Yes. How do you get to be so cute, Kiki? What is your secret? She just had a bath today. That's one of the challenges of living with a pet. And censored sweet. Oh, let's see. Kiki's already got pet sitting offers just pouring in. Kiki,
we need an event in Santa Fe to go to.
Yeah, there's a balloon festival.
Oh, it's Albuquerque.
Oh, wait,
go to that.
Santa Fe. Yeah. Close enough. Yes.
Okay, Kiki, this is Kiki's nap time. Yeah. She's not too happy.
Yeah, 18 hours a day of nap time, which is never at 7 a.m., unfortunately.
All right, so we've been talking for an hour and a half now. If you have any last-minute questions for us. No, not mommy and daddy. No, we're servants.
We're servants.
When you have a cat, you're servants. You're not mommy and daddy. If you have any last-minute questions, please send them in right now. Now's the time.
And otherwise, we return to drinking wine and crank up the party music and light up the fireworks.
Fireworks?
Yeah, sure. There's fireworks.
We don't have fireworks.
Oh. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this evening. We appreciate all your questions. This video will be available for viewing later. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, fun. And hope to meet some of you guys in person that we haven't already. We had, I think, peaked at 18 people watching. That's just pretty exciting. Ooh, somebody's got a takeoff day. It's awesome. Cool.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us this evening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.